What's up, everybody? Chad Winstead here with Visual Flow Presets, and I have a wonderful husband and wife duo here today, and they're going to talk about how to make your images pop. So they're going to show us what they use in the Visual Flow Retouching Toolkit, and to really make your images stand out. And let me switch over to the screen here so they can see you. How about that?
Ooh,
Say hello, everybody, to Josh.
Hey, everybody.
Whoa. You're getting applause already.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I love sound effects, if you can't tell from the
I love
previous
that.
video.
I needed that.
Yeah, we all need that.
We've got others.
Oh.
Whoa.
All right, guys. So while people fill in here, I'm gonna just go ahead and mention that if you're watching at home, be sure to click the link in the description and allow Ecamm Live to see your name. So that way, if you guys have any questions or comments or anything that you want to say to Jos Tree, I can actually display them right here in the live video feed, which is really fun and cool, and Jos Tree will be able to see them. So if you don't click allow, otherwise we won't be able to see your comments as they're coming in, so make sure you do that. So yeah, Jos Tree, you guys ready to get started? I'm going to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
Then we'll get to the nitty gritty.
All
right. So where are you guys from, first off?
Oh.
We are from our beloved town of Portland, Oregon.
Yes, we are. And it is currently dark, raining sideways, and been doing that for days with the sun coming out for a hot second in between.
But we have a custom cedarwood hot tub in our backyard that we dive into, and it's a really good editing break.
Yeah.
From the EMF diffusion of our bodies.
Yeah.
Man, I'm jealous of that. I need a hot tub in my life.
Everybody needs a hot tub in their life.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
So are y'all originally from Portland, or how did you end up there?
Joss is.
I'm guilty. I pulled Tree here.
Yeah.
She grew up in California, but I'm a pure Oregonian.
Many generations.
From my Scandinavian background, they actually migrated to Oregon, and we had big picnics with over 100 of us, family gatherings back in the day. It was pretty amazing. So yeah, I'm an Oregonian.
And I was born in the Midwest, but moved to the West Coast, and now I'm here after 11 years.
That's awesome. Well, where can people find you? Where can they follow you? I've got your Instagram here underneath your name there.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same across the board. So Facebook is Jos Tree, Instagram is Jos Tree. We're not cool enough and don't have TikTok yet. And I saw that Instagram just updated their app, and now they have this thing called Reels.
Yep.
I might be slow, but I feel like they're trying to compete a little with TikTok, so we might be playing with that. Yeah, that's the main ways. Our website is josandtree.com, JOS and tree.com.
People kept telling us that they thought that our names were just by themselves a brand. So, hey, why not do that? josandtree.com.
Well,
we're trying to keep.
You two do have like the coolest names in the history of photographers' names, so. You've got that going for you. I think it's perfect.
Oh, good.
We'll take it where we can.
Check. Yeah, we will.
Yeah, I have kind of a boring name, I think. Although not a lot of people know this, I'm just going to spill the beans, but my full name is Walter Chadwick Winstead.
Oh.
I feel like I need to go by my whole name, because just Chad Winstead by itself is boring. And when you say it like that, it just...
You need to say the whole
people
thing.
Are like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Very formal.
Right. I feel like I hail from England. That was not an English accent. I don't know what that was that just came out.
I don't know.
I think you are known to dress up in special characters, though.
I've been told. Yeah. I don't know anything about that. Hey, so one thing I wanted to mention is Jos Tree are wonderful educators in the photography community as well. So if you've never seen them speak at WPPI or attended any of their workshops, be sure to follow them on Instagram. Stay up to date with what they have offering. Do you guys have anything coming up, like a workshop or anything like that?
Well, yeah, we obviously, with everything that's going on, we are morphing and discovering new ways. So we have an online lighting course that we are putting together and have not completely released. So we will be keeping social media channels and our website up to date as soon as that is available, and we announce more information.
We're going to reveal some of our secret sauce behind lighting with photojournalism, so that images are real, but are lit well without interfering with the couple's experience.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, and it can also be transferred to family sessions, and it doesn't have to be just wedding. It's everything, really. But
right. Well, that's exciting.
Yes.
Well, you guys are certainly masters of light, so I'm probably going to check that out myself.
Thanks, Chad.
All
Chadwick,
right.
Walter Chadwick.
Walter.
Yeah, you're going to have to call it. I'm going to go change my name right now in here.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Good call.
All right, so we're getting some people coming in. Angie Nelson says, "Hey friends," and then she says, "That sounds like you need to be knighted." And I'm okay with that. If the queen wants to knight me, I'm there.
Hey, Angie.
Angie.
We need a blow from Hawaii.
Speaking of, Alan says greetings from the UK.
Ah, Alan.
And then we've got Devin McCabe here.
He's up late.
Yeah, man.
And her one friend Hector.
Hector, yeah.
You made it.
Yes, glad to see you in here, Hector. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and dive into what the people came to watch. So why don't you teach us how to make your images pop?
Yeah.
All right, you got to put the glasses on for it. I see.
I got to put the glasses on here. Get serious. Get focused. Well, there's so much to share, and we only have a certain amount of time, but I think we're going to start off by just kind of setting the scene of a recent adventure elopement that we photographed in Moab, Utah. And let's just kind of set the scene here.
We're gonna share a couple.
Just a little bit of the behind the scenes video here.
Okay.
And we'll get the screen all set up here.
Oh.
Okay.
Where we were and
let me know when you're ready.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said let me know when you're ready with the video.
Okay.
They're 4 little videos.
4 little videos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Instagram shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can go ahead and share it.
Okay.
Oh, it's cut off.
Let me pull this over here a little bit more.
No worries.
It's not big enough to do all 4 jobs, so you need to tuck them in a little bit. There you go.
Jeez, yeah. Yeah, so we're in this a magical environment in Moab,
which we've never been to. So we felt the need to get there early and actually go scope the morning before, so that we knew exactly what we were getting ourselves into.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so this is the scene. This is the first scene on the left screen, the first video. That's the back of the camera, what we're about to shoot. And this is the Arches National Park in Moab.
Yeah.
And this is just kind of, this is the morning before at 4:45 in the morning, what we were seeing. And we're trying to really dial in the shot that we wanted to capture the next morning. So that's at 4:45 a.m.
Right.
So we were scoping because, again, we're going to arrive in the dark. We don't know what we're up against. A lot of people go there to photograph and experience the sunrise.
Yep.
And we get busy, and we don't want to be overly technical with our couple right away. Like, we're not even doing sunrise right away. We're literally doing like a night shot right away before the sunrise.
Right. And when the sun comes up, the sunrise, it goes really fast. It isn't like you can linger around with a sunset after the light goes down.
We were dealing with a lot of technical stuff. So
here we are.
So what's happening, guys?
Sunrise shoot, but before sunrise, full moon. And
it's a wedding
day in Moab. Silhouettes in the arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're setting up our mag box. We're getting ready to go. We're all dialed in.
It's a lot of red infrared headlamping.
Right.
As you can see.
And then here comes a couple, Abby and Bruno. And they're walking right in at sunrise.
We're literally starting this whole session with them in the dark.
Right.
Like, Thankfully, we met them briefly the day before, but we're starting in the dark, and that's not the ideal scenario, but it is what we're doing because of what we want to capture.
Right.
But it's so beautiful up there. And here's the first image that we captured.
This is a straight out of camera.
Straight out of camera here.
Okay.
And this is them coming together. Just like we shot several shots and walking back and forth, but this was one of the key shots that we got of them.
And we scoped this the morning before, how to light the arch in a subtle way without it being over the top, how to pull in the stars.
Right.
So we had this pretty dialed beforehand, where we wanted the light, how much we wanted to light everything, and then where we wanted to take the shot from.
Yeah, and you can see, you can kind of look at it a little closer here, that, there's a little bit of movement in her dress, which we really like, because otherwise it looks almost too fairy tale.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they haven't seen the final photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Lightroom and presets, we want to just go right into develop here, and it's almost too simple. Here we are, and we kind of look at the type of image that we like, and that we're trying to get images that pop. Well, the way we've shot it already pops, and if we go right up to the crush preset, which we love to use,
It's our most common.
and we go to the backlight flare low contrast shot and click there once, immediately this image starts to do its magic with all the wonderful genius behind that preset that's already dialed in for us. And all we have to do, since we've underexposed this a little bit, we just go right over and bring up the exposure just a little bit, and suddenly, bam, those two silhouettes just pop right out of nowhere.
And the sky gets pretty, and the sky becomes more how we were seeing it also.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
That deep blue.
that's pretty simple. It's just right, bam, like immediately you got really nice blues.
Mhm.
It's kind of like already making the image pop.
Yeah.
And so what we like to do is really explore how to not only use all the brushes to enhance the preset, because a lot of those brushes already have that magic built into them, but then also use the tools. So we want to explore how to use those, and the precision of those. So it's not just like a dodge, and it's not just a burn, but it's a specific type of dodge, and it's a specific type of burn.
Yeah.
That is the genius behind these.
Right.
So for example, if I always like to use the keyboard here, I hit K and I go right to all the brushes. I love to use keyboard. I'll be throwing out a lot of keystrokes here, by the way, because I think they're super fast. And immediately, if you go up, for those of you who haven't used any of these brushes or are new to this, I go down and I go ahead and click, and I go down to dodge the highlights. And I love the dodge highlights one. At first, I was thinking that dodging the highlights would burn things out, but actually it makes things pop. And in fact, if I hit the open square bracket on the keyboard to increase the size of my brush, I can just click once or maybe twice, and bam, I've got this nice extra little popping halo that pops right behind that silhouette.
But maybe you want to make it slightly even, because
And
that's
maybe
how
even out.
things would be coming up. Yeah. And maybe one more there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just immediately.
And we would definitely refine this. We're going to be moving kind of fast.
I can always just go adjust the exposure on that specific brush, or change down the highlights just a little bit if it's too much. Just that little tweak there. One of the things I like to use in Lightroom is actually hit the H button, and it shows you where all those pins show up. So if I hit H, that little pin shows up. If I hit it again, it goes away.
And if you had multiple, you would see all of them, which
Yeah.
is very necessary when you are doing quite a bit to an image, or if you're just doing multiple different brushes because you're creating a new brush for each thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the other tips in Lightroom I like to use is hit the O button, and it just shows you this pink overlay as to where I've actually brushed in on that pin.
Which reminds me, remove that, because our red light is in the bottom of this image and has to be removed.
Yeah, so let's go on to the next brush, and it's a favorite one I'm sure that a lot of you use, but I can't help but emphasize this one. If I go up to new, I always hit new and then go up to burn the blackout, 00D blackout. And our headlamps were a little bit bright at the time, or mine was.
Yours was.
And
I'm in the
so-
bottom right corner taking an Instagram video.
So I'm just going to black that out, and once again, making this image pop, so that it kind of removes some of that distraction by blacking out that part of the image. I'm also going to black out tree,
Aw,
and I'm going to black out some of these other small things.
I know.
We had a third photographer there, Devin
Yeah,
Newson,
yeah.
who's joined us.
She's next to the light.
And we're going to black her out also. Black out the light. You know, if there's one thing I would add to the blackout tool, my request to Pi, if he's there listening, is to take the highlights adjustment and actually take that all the way down.
Yeah.
And then any little subtle, like super hot little highlight is there, it also takes that away.
But
And that's just my
maybe-
own preference.
But maybe
Right.
that's
He's got an idea behind that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
my-
basically that idea was to be able to brush a little bit looser over the highlights and whites and basically just crank down those shadows and blacks. That's,
Totally. That's
course.
what I was thinking.
you know, the exposure is cranked down as well, so it is going to affect if you brush loosely, you know, the highlights and the
Yeah.
whites. But yeah, definitely, I do the same thing. I'll make little tweaks to that blackout brush, and I'll crank down the highlights as well. That way it helps
It's
eliminate.
amazing. It's literally amazing.
yeah. And so the other thing I do here is I just go to new again, and I would go to burn down the highlights and actually burn down this extra. Oh, I'm not burn. I'm at to
You're a dodge. There you
burning the
go.
highlights. It's cool because if you make a mistake like that and you're still on that brush, you just go up and change the brush again, and
And
it
it
actually
changes.
affects where you brush.
Yeah.
And I hit the square bracket, close square bracket, to really kind of zoom in and dial down that light, but keep it kind of the detail there. And I might go up to new again and dodge some of the shadows to get, or actually dodge the highlights. And then bring out just a little bit of this shadow here that adds that kind of diagonal.
You didn't get rid of Devin's legs.
I would go in and obviously
Clone.
close her out, but I'm not going to do that right now.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's, if I hit H, all the little dots go away. And yeah, if I go over to the
We were
right,
gonna do a couple little pops in the sky.
yeah, if I go to new and then go up to, yeah, maybe I can even dodge the
No, you did the sky one.
dodge the highlights. I would actually a little bit of the highlights there with the stars. Just to bring out that sky a little bit more.
Perfect.
Maybe I can even with that one, I can take down the temperature.
There's a star
More
that's
blue.
twinkling when you move your mouse. Actually, that's Orion. Orion
Is that
was
Orion there?
twinkling. when
Orion's
you-
twinkling.
It was when you were moving your brush. It was really pretty.
Yeah, so there's the image we tweaked, and then that was the final one right there.
Not that different, actually.
Not that different.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's really simple. It's a super simple one.
Right.
And no Photoshop was involved in the production of this photo.
That's awesome. So Devin says that she loves Crush.
Oh, different Devin. I love that.
Hector
love these
asked
two
if
Devins.
would you do something with the top part highlight on the rock? So did you, in that final image that you did you do any dodge highlights or anything like that on the rock, or did you kind of have the lighting?
You know, I
on it?
did dodge it down a little bit in the final, and I brought up a little bit of the warmth on that art to complement the complementary colors of the sky and
Yeah,
the art itself.
Those
But not
oranges and
much
blues.
because but not much because we pretty much loved the way we had the flash on the arch, and we had tested it the night before. So we really, like, in camera knew that it was really close. The way we had the rocks.
You know, I think we had a half CTO gel in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Awesome, guys.
Yeah. So that was sunrise.
Well, no, that was before sunrise.
That was the kind
Twilight.
of
Morning?
that
Dusk?
was the
Dawn?
Blue
the,
hour.
the pre-dawn
Pre-dawn.
photo.
Whatever it's called. We don't get out much anymore, obviously. Okay, so
So-
can you show the final photo first and then the next photo and show
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
one
so here's the next shot.
from their ceremony.
And this is from their ceremony.
Mhm.
And we actually took them around the backside of the arch because we want to be a little bit more private for them.
So it turns out lots of people show up at arches to watch the sunrise and like sit in the arch. And
Right.
so there's two arches that are next to each other and no one is at this other arch because you can't actually really find a safe way to sit. Whereas the other arch, you can literally walk right up to it. So the morning before we discovered, if we went to the backside of this other arch that is beautiful, no one's there. So we created and found the space for them to get married and then brought them there that morning. They'd never been to the park before. And so we literally were planning their ceremony for them.
Yeah, so this is the final shot here.
Was it just the two of them? They didn't have it. It was just the two of them and you guys.
Yeah,
Show them.
just the two of them. So this was in Utah, but in Colorado, they could come into Colorado and do something. I forget what it's called. If someone's from Colorado, tell us what this is called. In Colorado, you're allowed to literally like do a commitment by yourselves. I forget. There's like terminology for it. I don't know what it is, but it was it was very complex to do it in Utah. They would have to have like a specific officiant and it got confusing. So they chose to do this all on their own.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah, so here's the before shot. And we're shooting through a piece of transparency here to create a double image because we love layering images. They specifically requested to us, since he works for National Geographic and she works for the National Parks Conservation Association. And so they wanted architecture in their photos.
Right.
So that's what we were doing. So this is a shot we took through a piece of transparency, and we were to crop this. We would just kind of crop in a little bit tighter here. I like to kind of rotate that crop to kind of give it a little bit a truer sense of gravity.
And then you went up a little bit.
I went up a little bit here. It's still a pretty steep slope.
Yeah.
But once again, here we are, and using the presets are just incredible. In this case, it was very dramatic, and we want to make this image pop, and so we actually went down to the develop preset underneath 2-man and did the margarita, and that seemed to be true to the drama,
the sky and the rock color. It was really close. Yeah.
We like rich images, and so we kind of notice here that we want to kind of fix a few things, and this is because of the way we shot it. That shadow in the furthest part of the arch,
in the sky part
of the arch. Mm-hmm. If I hit K and go to the brushes, I'm going to dodge out
the part that's darker where there's a shadow, basically.
Yeah, I'm going to dodge the shadows on that one, and I'm going to hit Command plus to really kind of zoom in on that. I'm going to come in and just kind of dodge out that, so it's kind of smoothing it out with the sky. And as I'm dodging, I'm just kind of, I like to do this circular dodge. And what's kind of cool about this is if I go down within that dodging, I can, in that brush, is the dehazing kind of like pulls it back to the original of the sky. And maybe I can adjust just a little bit of the temperature there to kind of match that sky.
You do have that strip right
there. I have that strip, so I like to hit the Alt key, and it actually goes to a minus. If I hit the open square bracket, it increases the size of that, and I can actually bring back some of that stuff that I've painted out. And it starts to get a little bit closer to the sky. If I spend a little bit more time, I can perfect it exactly to the.
But you got the
to this guy, but that's the idea. And also, there's kind of a little bit of texture going on in this guy anyway. So, yeah. One of the other things that we'd like to pay attention to is actually the skin tones. In this environment, the colors were bouncing all over the place, so their skin tones are going to be warmer.
Plus, the sun has just risen,
and plus the sun just came up.
Really warm, and the rocks are red and orange, and yeah.
But I might not add it. I might add another brush here, go to new, and then go down to just to desaturate 51A, and then Command plus and zoom in and just kind of like desaturate their face a little bit. But it looks pretty good.
They're a little pink.
But I think the point is I really like to kind of get the skin tones as true and rich as possible.
But in this moment, what is considered true because they're like
True.
layered in with the sun.
Yeah. Here's another tip that we like to add. Since we shot this through this piece of transparency, there's a lot of sun flare coming in. And I know Elizabeth Lloyd and Tanya Parada talked about this, but the sun flare is a really cool thing. And I like to hit new again and go down to the sun flare. So where's that sun flare? Right there in 60A. And I just kind of narrow down the brush. One of the things I like to pay attention to when I'm using the sun flare is actually the flow. So if I go down to flow, it decreases the pressure on that brush. And I think going to around 11 or 12 is a pretty good starting point.
And you're going kind of skinny.
And I'm going kind of skinny to create these beams of light that are coming out of the natural sun flare already. So you're going to notice how I can't keep my hand very steady here, but if I just kind of like click and kind of pull just a little bit, kind of starts to create these cool sun flares. Not too much, just subtle.
That's not subtle. That's not subtle, but I get the
yeah. I like
I
it.
haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, that's a really that's a neat tip.
It's a really cool tool.
It's a good tip. Yeah, I like that.
I want to see what the final photo looks like. I'm getting impatient. Sorry, Joe.
Well, the last thing I want to do here is I'm going to hit K to go back to the basics of this control panel over here on the right-hand side. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to go to the HSL and I'm going to click on the little button there and increase the blue.
You're on saturation.
I'm on saturation. I'm going to increase the blue a little bit and then adjust the warmth a little bit.
So if you hover over the area that you want to change with the little, what would you call that? Sensor thing? I don't even know what that's called.
What do you call that, Chad?
What do you call that?
The double arrow adjustment tool.
That's a great idea. I don't know the specific name for it, but
I don't either. The thing that you hover over.
The HSL thing. We'll just call it that.
The HSL adjustment, yeah.
The thing.
And just click and drag whatever color you want to manipulate.
Right.
And once again, that preset is already got me to that point of almost exactly where I want to be. And now I can just make these minor little adjustments as I see fit, which I think is just brilliant because it bypasses all this kind of wandering organic randomness.
Yep. I use the HSL thingy on the hue a lot to just make little subtle tweaks. Let's say if the purple looks a little more blue than I need to, then I'll click hue and just drag over the purple.
I like the hue as well.
Yeah. Like I have, there's something about like the Sony chips for whatever reason. I do a lot of grad shoots here in town and the colors are purple and gold. And the purple on their jackets always looks blue through the Sony. So I always have to go in there and tweak no matter what preset you use. It always just looks a little bit blue. So I always have to go in there and drag that hue a little bit more to the purple side. And
each camera's got its own little color profile situation.
Yep.
So that was the shot we just edited, and then this was the final.
Yeah, see, your sun flares are better there.
Sun flares are better, yeah.
Yeah,
he didn't have as much caffeine that day. His hands were a little more.
Yeah, he's like. Oh
yeah.
Yeah, you got a little crazy.
Here's another one. Here's another small example. This is we were shooting from a different angle. Tree shot this photo, and we're working with the same preset, and we were also doing the same thing with a flare. And
so just go to the final.
And we go to the final here, and that's what we came up with.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's where you used a little bit more of the streaking with the fine, but it was already happening in camera.
Yeah.
So you're like expanding on what's already there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But you can fake it quite a bit. yeah, it is
I
a
think
great.
you're shooting at f11 there.
Maybe.
Here's another example. Here we are roaming around with them in the cliffs. Once again, they wanted us to shoot the architecture.
Is this turret?
And this is the turret section.
This is across from the double arch. Or not the double arch, but the 2 arches, yeah.
Yeah, and we just go up to develop and go to the crush again and go down to the hard light open sun. Click once, and that's the starting point that we've got. We underexpose a lot, so in this case, we wanted to bunch up the exposure a little bit, maybe a stop or so, and then we're starting to get that richness. One of the things that we noticed is that there's a little bit of a pink to this preset, and so we like to just kind of pull back that preset.
Well, it wasn't actually that high. Yeah.
Yeah, just bring down the pinks just a little bit.
Right.
And yeah, one of the other things that we like to do to punch it up is actually to go down to the tonal curve and kind of pull out that tone curve to make it a little bit more pop. But we notice when we do that there's a halo in the sky.
Well, there's a halo around.
There's a halo around.
Basically around the rocks.
The rocks and the sky itself. So one of the wonderful brushes that has been designed is the Halo Sky brush. So if we go down, and what is the Halo Sky brush here is
the Decrush Sky 41A.
Decrush Sky.
Yeah.
Decrush Sky haloing. And increase the size of that brush, and then just kind of go around the edges of the cliff or the rocks. And it takes away that halo really nicely.
That's awesome. I bet they love this final one. If they love architecture, that's such a cool perspective.
They were the cutest. We just did their premiere last week, and that's awesome. My god, we recorded it actually. We should probably share it. It was the best. Yeah. It was just really nice to also relive this like free out in a national park moment.
Right.
We learned that Bruno works for the National Geographic on the shoot. We're like, whoa.
Yeah, he works in like he works with getting he works with schools and getting like National Geographic information and science information into schools. It's really cool.
Right.
And with this image, I'm going to go heel out the cars. We don't like those cars in there.
No, get rid of the cars.
We don't like, especially such an awesome scene, we don't like anything man-made. And so this was an easy one. Just to quickly comb that out and bam, cleans that out really fast.
Cars?
What car?
Except for that one right there.
And we can narrow down the brush a little bit. Get that one last one.
Then there's that path to the double arches.
Anything that's bright, we kind of usually want to eliminate from the image because it usually makes your eye go right to whatever is the brightest.
And we want it to be the bride in her non-traditional wedding dress.
Yeah. I love this perspective with like the lighting couldn't have been more perfect for you right here.
Oh, we were gifted. We were seriously gifted because the next day was real hazy.
Really?
And there was barely any sun. Yeah.
There's just there's so many lines and the highlights are, it's just perfect right here.
Yeah. Well, and the timing of the day and everything was pretty much like it was a perfect day. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we always want to pay attention to the highlights, especially on the bride. And so Command Plus to zoom all the way in.
She was wearing this incredible white kind of flowy cape. But again, like that white cape was going to pick up pretty hot, and he was wearing a dark blue suit, so he definitely had to be watching that the whole time.
Yeah, so we're gonna go new again, and then we're gonna actually burn down some of the highlights.
Very zoomed in.
Yep. Just burn that down a little bit.
Her arm a little bit.
His hand is a little bit bright in her arm.
Yeah.
So that when people see this, they go, how do they possibly get that perfect exposure?
Yeah.
Right?
The burn highlights brush is probably my top 5 most used brushes.
Oh yeah.
Probably top 3.
It is a top 3 for sure. Yeah. because you cannot perfectly expose for everything.
Yeah.
And so having that, just like, I pretty much use it all the time. So Joss is our like our master editor in our family. But I still do some.
Oh yeah.
You know, he just delivered photos for me so I could finish an album, and I of course zoom in and find so many little mistakes. But
Nobody's perfect, Tree.
The debate between the two of us is really helpful because it really draws out the opinions and the truths behind an image. So
yeah, so I'm like using all these little tools, but it's been really fun for me to explore how much more in depth Joss has been using the visual flow tools. I'm like, whoa, like the sun flare thing. I'm like, that is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to steal that because I haven't ever used them for the rays before. I could never find a good way to use it, but decreasing the flow is that tip. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That flow is so important. Like anywhere between 6 and 10 is really gradual.
Right.
And you can just kind of like really kind of ease into it.
I'm one of those people that just leaves my flow at 100. I just leave it cranked, and I'll just dial it back, dial the preset back, you know, or the brush back.
Well, I feel like that made sense, but now things are getting so refined and we're working with such incredible tools that now we actually want to pay attention to the flow and opacity and feathering, and because now we have like 70 more tools than we had before. So
all right, so
but these tools are so precise. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got a couple questions for you.
Wait, there's a question he's trying to talk.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, you're good. Hector asked what lighting gear you're using. So I know I saw that mag box and an 8200. Is that kind of your go-to setup?
Yeah, we're using obviously MagMod. Pretty much, we don't have our MagMod tools. Like those tools are how we are able to do what we do. And then we decided to try Godox for the last year to decide if that was a direction we wanted to go. We are Canon shooters and we sold off all of our Canon flashes.
Although we've played a lot with the Pro Photo lights, the A1 and B1.
Yeah, so
B10.
this kind of was like a trial year for us with Godox, and so far we've loved it. It's worked really well, and then of course we're having a weird year, so now we're like, oh, we're not sure what we're gonna do now. We love Pro Photo, we love Godox, but we're using Godox right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the before and after. The after shot, we kind of brought down the shadows inside of that cave a little bit more to make it more poppy, and enrich the blue and enrich the orange a little bit more.
But obviously on this photo, there was no lighting. The sun was being the best lighting ever. Yeah. The sun was delivering.
Yeah, one of the best tips, just if you find interesting light like this with shadows, is just let people play through all those hot lights and shoot for the hot light, and you'll get really interesting images that are super natural looking.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we're gonna leave Moab now and go indoors.
Yes. Here's a shot that we're gonna use to illustrate how to fix how would you describe this?
Well, I was like, that's a bad photo.
Well, here's the final one.
Yeah, final one is good. Final one is good. So
so we decided, Chad, this is your brother.
Oh man. Do you have another photo of him in this gallery? I need to see this.
We'll show you a great one of him with two other friends with beards, and they're like switching their beards together. Obviously, it's pre-COVID.
I don't know if you noticed, but I trimmed before this quite a bit.
I did notice.
I found that out here last week. So
yeah. Yeah, there's actually another bearded man just above the bride's shoulder. He has quite the beard.
Oh, yeah.
Tree got 3 beards together on the dance floor, super close in.
Yeah.
They're all like really
I'll send
tight.
you that photo.
We'll send you that one.
Yeah. Anyways, in this moment, I was actually farther away across the room. We're in like a cool industrial warehousey wedding venue place. And I see like there's a speech happening and I can tell like, whoa, this speech is getting really good. I must get over there. And so in my process, I have a off-camera flash, but I also have a flash on camera. And as I get really close, because I'm like, good things are happening, I do not turn my on camera flash down. So show the yeah.
There's a shot.
There's the shot.
But hey, moment trumps everything, especially if you can use preset tools to recover things.
Actually, I don't even know if I think that is all the flash on my camera that is lighting everything.
No, I think you had a camera off to the right.
No, because there's stairs right there. I had a flash on a stand somewhere, but I'm not sure it's helping this photo. Anyway,
let's crop this guy down.
Let's fix it.
Let's fix this.
Yeah.
These tools, these amazing tools.
Yes.
Let's go right in. Don't forget that bearded guy in the background.
Yeah, but we don't need the shoulder.
Save the beards.
Yeah, but what's all over his face? He has lights. His beard is lit up.
So I'm gonna go use an espresso, black and white. And the first thing I'm gonna know is obviously we gotta fix the bride, but I think I'm gonna bring out the shadows of these people in the background that are interesting expressions going on because that has more depth to the photo.
Can we please fix the highlights first because I can't.
Oh yeah, no, we'll do it. Yeah, we're gonna do this
first.
So I'm just gonna go to new, and I'm gonna dodge the shadows on those.
You're gonna make us stare at this overexposed overlay for longer, Josh.
We've all been there as wedding photographers. It's okay.
It's so bright.
Of course, I can actually increase the exposure just a hair on that. And I'm gonna go to new again, and I'm gonna black out.
Black out. It's right there.
Right there. Yeah.
Right there.
00D.
The highlights are gonna be the last thing he fixes. Just.
I know he's
just
torturing me, Chad.
So you can see how obviously I can go and black out this whole thing. I like to actually black out just all the people that are unnecessary, that you kind of see parts of arms and stuff, maybe head.
This is part of how you can make an image pop. Is like you're basically telling the viewer what to look at. Right. So if you remove all this other stuff, then you're very specifically telling them the story you want them to see. It's basically a trick.
In this case, I'm going to increase the flow to like 40. And then it goes a lot faster.
Whoa, that's better.
Yep.
But you can see, I can, obviously.
It's going to take a little while.
Take away all
We're
of the highlights.
removing all of the distractions.
Even the distraction over here.
Yep.
See how bright that is, and I can get rid of that. And it's just amazing if I spend more time, obviously, getting super detailed.
But let's just move on. So show them the final now.
So I'm going to hit new, and I'm going to actually dodge.
I'm
going to burn down the exposure, actually, in this case.
Yeah. Like maybe the highlights. You need to bring in the highlights, too. It's not going to just be
bring down that exposure more.
So you would just do a burn exposure, not like the burn whites or highlights?
Yeah.
Because
burn whites would be good, too, but I think in this instance, yeah.
We've got other examples where we can use.
Yeah. I don't think you need to spend more time on it. Just show the.
You can see where we're going, and it's a really strong image, and it's being recovered by these amazing tools that you don't have to guess too much with.
And you don't have to not deliver this photo because you're like, oh no, this photo works.
Yeah. So there's the final, like you've seen before.
And so much was removed just by the blackout brush.
Before and after, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like you said, moments trump all.
Moments trump. Yeah.
Here's another example. I'm going to get more specific with the brushes for a black and white. Here's a late night shot, like 2 a.m. in Belize at a pool party after the bride and groom were danced accidentally into the pool or something like that.
No, I convinced them to go in the pool. They were getting boring. Yeah.
So what we like to do is actually when crazy moments like that happen, we're using a 16 to 35 and getting in super close, but not too close to cut off super critical things such as fingertips or in this case, toe tips. But this gives us now the option of being able to crop in really tight and get more impact on that photo. So now you're super tight without losing.
You're basically in the pool.
In the pool.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use
waterproof housing, I'm guessing.
No.
We're covering our lenses with some plastic.
Right.
I don't even think you did.
No, I did, yeah.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Usually I just dive into the pool with them and hold my camera
I know.
above the water and just,
It's going to get a little wet.
That's what insurance is for.
Yeah, except when you're in police. Oh.
In this case, once again, we're just blacking out stuff. But what I want to get to is actually dodging some of the whites. So there's this wonderful tool called Dodge Whites.
20A.
20A. And once again, we're trying to make an image pop. So we're looking to a quick way to really make the black and white dramatic by bringing out some of the detail in his pants
Her.
and her
Mm-hmm.
and just the whiteness of the dress.
Mhm.
And then if I could go to new again and then dodge out, I can dodge out the highlights.
It's right there,
Dodge out the highlights.
right below.
Yeah,
Dodge Whites.
your favorite tool there.
Yeah.
Bring out some, once again, just, and at first I was like, when I was originally working with black and whites, I'm like, how do you get things so dramatic? Like it's bringing out those some of the times bringing out the highlights and darkening the shadows a little bit so you get that really nice contrast. It makes it really dramatic, as this image is.
And then didn't you burn the highlights on his foot?
I'm going to burn down the highlights on his foot.
Yeah, I think that's what I use
And
the
also
highlights
this-
for the most, is just to like balance the exposure from the flash, from one-
Exactly. And
So I'm
then
going
you
to
forgot.
dodge out the shadows on his face.
Mhm.
So I'm going to zoom in here. Make sure you get his face, because his face is pretty cool.
I think you actually did a little bit more than just the dodge shadows on him originally. Like the final photo when I looked at it. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
so if I go to new again and I actually dodge out the details in the clothing, 42A, then I can bring out some of that detail in the clothing, and also this water that is flying. I can dramatize that water by getting the detail of that water. You can also, I think Pi pointed out how you can actually use the dodge whites on particles
Yeah.
that are flying, which are really cool to use also.
Yeah, if we have like a really dark rain shot or something like that, I usually actually do dodge the shadows a little bit around it, and that'll pull them out a little. That'll pull out some raindrops that you didn't see, and then go over that
Yeah.
with dodged highlights, and then it'll
Yeah.
pull them out and make them pop even more.
Nice.
Yeah, and so the last, there's so many things you can do here, but one of the cool things I like about the presets is that you go to tools and you go down to all the way down to sharpening. You can actually add this nice sharpening effect. Or even if you really want to get dramatic, you could go to the landscape, and it really brings out that detail in all the madness that's happening. And if you take it one step further, you can actually go down and pull up this tone curve just a little bit to get all the highlights to really make that image pop. See,
The tone curve is
the tone curve is
great
amazing.
tool. Yeah.
So there's the final, and there's the one we just worked on.
They're not that different actually.
Pretty close.
Yeah. A little bit different crop and yeah.
I think I brought out a little bit more of
See?
her hair
Well, in his face.
in his face.
Yeah, his face has been brought in more.
Yeah.
But let me go. We're gonna run out of
Oh
time.
man. Okay, so similar. I'm just gonna blast through a couple here.
Because there's a similar concept.
Here's another one that was amazing. It was a backlit. We used a mag beam here. I thought this was shot at f2.
Team beam.
And once again, we're just going to a black and white that we love, and using those same precise tools to bring out the drama of the image. In this case, we're just we underexposed, and so we're kind of bringing out some
Except
of that.
that her hair is way exposed.
Her hair is overexposed.
Yeah.
But cool, check this out though. If I hit K and I go to new, and then I actually burn down the highlights on her dress right there. See how it brings it back?
You get the
It
detail
recovers it.
back.
Yeah. And so the other thing here I want to point out is, like Pi was saying, if I go to a new brush and I go to dodge out the whites, I can actually bring out
More particles.
these particles are flying. I think somebody opened a door in the background,
And the snow came
and it was
in.
a snowy day or snowy night, and the snow came in through the door
They're
in the middle of
not,
their first
they're not
dance.
COVID aerosol.
No.
Sorry.
But at the same time, I can
Snow,
adjust the
snow.
texture here. I can play with the clarity just a little bit, really bring out some of those particles that make it even more dramatic.
How'd you fix her hair?
I just actually dodged the
You burned,
highlights.
you
No, I
burned.
dodged the highlights again.
Oh.
That was such a great tool, dodge the
No,
highlights.
you fixed that.
Oh, that I never did actually perfectly fit that.
You guys
Here's
are
the
just-
final.
That's better though. Look at the difference between how blown out that was in the original compared to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hair can be really challenging to fix when it gets sort of blown out, because
Right.
even in Photoshop or even trying to clone in Lightroom, like things just get really strange with hair.
One of the things I like to do in Photoshop is actually you can liquidize it. You can scrunch the hair
Yeah.
down, which is kind of
Mhm.
one way to fix a kind of a halo of blown out light.
Yep.
Yeah, you like squeeze it down,
Yeah.
shrink it essentially. Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of examples here. The same thing going on here, but check this one out. Here's a kind of an interesting tip. Here we thought, okay, this is a great moment, but
Look at the light on the bride's face.
the light on the
Yep.
bride's face, like, and also that bright
envelope.
envelope in front of us. So we're just going to crop this down right to the booty of the groom. And here's a cool brush.
We also realized that her thumb was cut off, but that was something you worked on later.
Making this one black and white, but I like this one here. If I go to new and I go to dodge whiteout 00B, and I can zoom in and I can literally fix that intense shadow. Now she was really super white.
She was
Oh my
very,
God, she
very
was
light.
So white.
Yeah, I mean, she was
But-
fair, and her skin tone was very light.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here I am fixing that shadow.
and obviously you would spend more time on this to
Right.
finesse it.
Fine.
You're
But
not
I just
going
think
so
that tool there,
quickly.
like before I would go to dodge shadows and then bring up the exposure.
Right.
You can use about what the difference between whites and highlights were, but
Do
this
her mouth.
brush-
You have to do her mouth, her teeth. Yeah.
if I spend a little bit more time there, I'm going to pull her out of the shadows and then get basically this shot.
is the final one. Yeah. So you can't even tell really that her face was completely shadowed by, our lighting assistant was lighting, and so it's like someone's head or it's their hands or whatever was blocking the light. You
Yeah,
can't
that's-
even tell.
That's an incredible transformation. We should have named this "How to Fix Bad Lighting." No, I'm just kidding, guys.
Well, that just happened. Joss included
Hey.
some of these photos. Like, really? We're
It's-
doing that? Okay.
Yeah. When you're using off-camera flash, obviously stuff like that happens,
Oh, yeah.
especially at a wedding.
Oh yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
awesome that you're able to use these tools to recover, mistakes, if you will, but to
Mistakes, and also like
happy
getting rid
little
of
accidents. How about that?
Yeah, and the removing of chaos, I think, which helps
Yeah.
images pop.
I'm gonna jump ahead here. I don't know how much time we have left.
We can do one more photo, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can do one or two more photos. I think would be good.
Okay.
Coming up on
Yeah.
an hour.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip past some of the ones that are similar to what we just did. Let's
Okay.
go to this image here. This is an image that Tree shot, and here is a behind the scene. Just real quick here, we're lighting this. Can you see that?
Yep. Go for it.
We're lighting this with two lights.
So kind of a double backlit.
A double backlit, and here we are. And at first you're like, oh, this is such a dark image. And what I want to start introducing here is a little bit more intermediate touch-up process. It takes a little bit more time, but check this out. If I go to modern and then go to HDR natural, boom.
Already.
Pulls out some of the detail there. The HDR brings out the amazing detail.
Oh, and now I see Joss hiding behind Philip's leg. It's hard for Joss to hide sometimes.
Yeah, he's a little tall to be hiding.
He's a
behind
little
people.
tall. He's kind of a big
I am
guy.
there. I am there. But if I start a new brush, and I'm going to work on the bride first. And my vision of this is usually I go to the exposure, and I kind of just see where the full potential of an image is. So I just pull out and look at it overall, the whole thing, go, okay, what can I do with this? What is the full potential that I can push this to, right? So I go back to kind of 0, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I want to work with those rocks eventually. I want to dramatize those rocks because they're a wonderful foreground. But let's first work on the bride, especially since we've got this HDR effect that we've got a great starting point with. But I'm going to use the brushes here, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to just dodge the shadows of the bride here. And I'm going to go zoom in and pull out just that soft. And usually when we're pointing the flash, we're hitting the chest of the groom, and it's bouncing back into the bride. So you can get kind of more of that wrapping effect. You got to get his head too. Now notice that we also, we were shooting this in fog. And there's this wonderful kind of halo fog effect going on around him. So if I bring out some of that fog effect, because I knew that was the particles were in the air there, I can bring out some of that effect already right there.
Well, and what Jos hasn't shown is that I actually shot this wider than what it is because I loved what the ocean was doing. But in the end, it's really about them and the rocks. The ocean rolling in was a little too bright, and it took your eyes away. So this is actually really cropped down.
We kind of like that medium wide angle perspective too, where you got the whole scene, but you also have enough detail of the couple with the expression, and particularly since she's leaning forward, there's this wonderful gesture happening from her. One of the other brushes I want to use here is to burn down once again, that burning down the highlights, man. Go make sure you kind of burn out some of those highlights of her dress there. And I could, continue to perfect that. But now we've got kind of a really good foundation to work with here. Now, this is the tip that I want to kind of dive into a little bit deeper. Back in 2016, we were working with us alongside a branding firm, and they were bringing out this concept of working with smart objects in Adobe Raw. And I was like, well, what's that? Mm-hmm. And then Lanny and Erica came along at a conference, and we were hosting a workshop for them here in Portland. And about day 2 or 3 of the workshop, Lanny and Erica asked the question, hey guys, have you ever worked with smart objects in Photoshop? So that you can work with multiple layers, raw layers, and maximize the pulling and pushing of the fullness of an image.
Yeah, so the graphic designers were using this. Then Lanny was going over this in their workshop. And
in Editopia.
Yeah.
His Editopia workshop, which had...
the workshop we took.
Yeah.
Yeah, and helped host, yeah. And also, this is a base for a lot of some deep editing.
Yeah.
Deep. We're talking deep editing.
So check this out. This is just a very small little sampling of what the power of working with Adobe Raw using the presets that we're given. So what I want to do here is I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go to Edit in, Open as Smart Object in Photoshop.
You have a text message.
Yeah, Jos.
Do I?
Yeah, you didn't turn your notifications on. Hopefully they don't write back. Don't keep writing. Wait, who is it? I can control your phone. Oh, it's Jeff. I'll tell him to
she can
bug off.
So check this out. Here I am in Adobe Raw, and I've got the layering down here on the bottom right-hand corner. So where I'm going is that I want to play with these rocks, and I want to use one of the VFlow tools and turn it into a brush using a raw layer. So check this out. In Adobe Raw, if I go up to Layer and I go down to Smart Objects and I click on New Smart Layer Object, you can also assign a keystroke, Command K to that. which I'll show you after a bit here, but I'm just going to add a smart layer in Photoshop here. And now I've got the same duplicate raw image that I've manipulated in Adobe Raw. So what I can do is I can double click on that and I can manipulate that same layer. But now I'm in Adobe Raw and I have all of the VFlow tools at my fingertips in Adobe Raw also, which is really cool. And it was kind of a hidden gem that I didn't know about before. But if you look onto the far right-hand side, there's a button here that you can click on and it goes to all the presets. And if I go to the Tools presets and scroll down to where it says Detail plus Landscape, I can click there once and I can choose OK.
And you're like,
and now,
it's ugly. But
made the bride look super ugly.
Whoops.
But I have to remember that I have a raw layer that I'm working with here. So I'm going to double click again. Actually, I shouldn't have closed out of that so soon. And I'm back in that raw layer. And along the right-hand side, I can go all the way to the top. And I can click, and I can now go to the basic settings. And I'm going to bring down the temperature. And I'm going to bring down the temperature of the whole thing. And then I'm going to bring up the texture a little bit, maybe the clarity. What do you think about that color tree? Too much?
It's a little too cold.
Too cold?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just make it almost look cold. Almost
I mean, they looked
black and white and
like,
cold.
yeah, but it's a little cold.
There we go.
Yeah, that's better.
And I might even bring up the exposure just a hair to really make that pop. So I'm going to choose OK again. And here I have this extra raw layer that I've used this tool from VFlow in. And here's the tip I want to share with you. If I hold down my Alt key and click on a mask, it turns it into a black mask, which means that if I click on that mask and now click on the image, now I'm painting in that tool from the VFlow presets.
You're basically painting in the layer that you want.
I'm painting in the layer
background.
underneath
Yes.
that into this image.
That is.
And I can bring out the detail, the dramatic detail of the rocks and everything behind them, while still keeping some of that fog, the warmth of the light of that fog there.
Right.
Which I think is pretty cool.
Do you have your brush
One of
feathered? Just quick question
is,
for you.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
Do you have that brush feathered, or do you have it more of a hard brush around the edges?
I think it's pretty.
Looks like you have it a little more of the hard. I was just curious.
It's density at 100% and feather, there's 0 feather. So
yeah, I'll change the hardness.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Here's a tip: if I hit the backslash key, it shows me where I've painted on that raw layer,
Where you haven't painted.
or where I haven't painted.
It's like the opposite of
This
Lightroom.
I love that tip right there. You really bring that in. And I hit the backslash key again, it goes away, and I can see what I'm doing. Now notice that I want to kind of bring out the detail of that rock right to the right of her, and it kind of looks natural because of the warmth around her. So what I can do is I can go back into that raw layer, double click on it.
Well, the irony is that we're creating like an alternate reality right now, because there's nothing natural about the light behind them, but we're choosing to create that alternate reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So check this out. I went back into that raw layer and I go up to the brush button, and now I have all the brushes. And if I click on the create a new brush button right there with that ellipse pop down, I can go down and I've got all the brushes from VFlow right in there, and I could go right down to the temperature warm. And now I'm gonna kind of spot weld the warmth back into those rocks while keeping the detail from that landscape detail tool that I brought in there. So wherever those highlight, the spilling of that highlight is, warming up a little bit of that spill that's from that backlight that's coming behind her, which makes it look more natural.
Natural.
And of course I can adjust
The
that.
fairy tale natural that we
Choose
created.
OK.
That looks awesome.
Cool.
Let's compare this with
So-
what the final is.
So let me back up. Let me just say this. Okay, so there are global adjustments that a preset can do. Then there are brushes, which are local adjustments. But then when you add in a raw layer, what I consider you're building in a regional adjustment. And I think that's really powerful because you can create consistency by using those presets, right? So they've already got all of the secret sauce in them. But if you can use those on larger sections, which I call regions of the image, then you can create that consistency and speed that you need to do to edit the image the way you want.
Right. That's powerful when you can do that much to an image just between Lightroom and Photoshop with those layers. That's super powerful.
And that only happens to specific photos,
Right,
obviously.
because that's a
We
time
would
eater.
never do that to everything, but it can be really worth it. It can
Yeah.
be really worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
Like a
here's
signature edit with that,
yes.
if you will. Yeah.
Totally.
So yeah, here's the final image that we had.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Joss is not in this photo.
I removed myself from that image, but I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
that's-
turning a tool, that tool into a brush, gets you really to the control that you want.
So how did you find out that those were available in smart objects within Photoshop? Or not smart layers?
Well, I remember Landy and Erica talking about it, and also I know that Landy goes into great detail in his Editopia workshop. And then I was like, oh my God, can we use two presets together to leverage the power of that?
But when did you realize that VFlow was in there?
Well, I just opened up Adobe Raw, and then all of a sudden I started looking at the toolbars, and I'm like, whoa, the tools are transparent all the way through into Adobe Raw,
Wow.
which is super powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Um,
you could literally have one preset on the couple, one preset on the background, one preset
Yeah.
on the foreground. So you could mix
Yes.
in like Crush and Modern and Mood and all the ones
All
theoretically
of it.
together. Using
Yeah,
Yeah.
here's another example. I won't do the whole thing here, but just here's an
Okay.
example of an elopement we just shot at the beach.
That same couple.
That same couple.
So it was sunny, and then it became very foggy.
And then here we are, being rusty from COVID and not shooting as much. And I'm not shooting for the highlights as strongly as I would have done before, but I made a little bit of mistake, so it's a little bit blown out on the ocean. But
It's not
still,
that bad.
using these presets, like we used the modern HDR, and then also the Crush. What was it, the Crush? It was the Crush the Crush. I'm plugging it here.
Oh my God.
No,
I don't know.
I know. We used
You
the
wrote it
Crush.
down.
We used the Crush hard light for open summits. So then we merged the two together. And I won't go through the whole thing, but it's very similar to what I just illustrated before, and that's the kind of effect we got right there.
Right. So HDR on the bottom half where they are, and then hard light up top. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Regions.
Regional preset application.
I love it.
We'll just call that Baja North on the top, Baja South on the bottom.
We're dreaming of warm places.
Yeah. I must say also one of the tools that we used in the sky above there was the sky brush, and allowed us to bring in the texture and the kind of the more drama of that sky up there at the top.
Yeah, that was one thing you wanted to go over with that other photo of GM in the catamaran getting ready, was bringing out the sky.
Yeah.
But I think that has also been covered quite a few times.
Yeah.
But
Here's another example. This is a photo of the tree shot. Once again, we can't get light on them because it's in the middle of such a sensitive moment. But we got to shoot for the highlights, and so with that kind of concept of bringing out the sky and the modern HDR landscape, that's how we brought those two together to bring out that moment of putting the ring on.
I love the mist
So it takes
in
a
the
little bit more
background.
time, but
Yeah, the mist. So it's just starting to come in. Like it was really interesting how they got everything that day. Literally everything.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, the Oregon coast. It's pretty magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's another example of a shot we did on the sailboat. Similar situation using two presets. We brought out the sky.
It's awesome.
And then used those brushes to bring out the boat itself, and then went into Photoshop and removed our lighting assistant.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys.
So those are some of the tools that we use to make images pop. It takes a little bit more time, but I think on those images that are worth really exploring, it pays off. Spend a little bit more time with the precision of those brushes, and being able to on occasion go into Adobe Raw and leverage two presets or maybe even more at a time. It can be super powerful.
But also, so many of those brushes change an image so quickly that you can make a photo pop. I mean, out of camera, it might be a little flat. Next thing you know, it's like a couple, a preset and a few brush strokes and maybe 3 different brush strokes. Maybe you change the brushes very quickly using keystrokes. Did you want to show the keystroke thing?
Yeah, here's one of the keystrokes in Lightroom that is my favorite. If I hit Command / it brings up all of the shortcut keystrokes in Lightroom.
Yeah.
Command / brings you up a short, kind of a cheat sheet.
I just learned this, by the way,
but
and
you
I'm
have all
going
those
to print it
memorized.
out, and I'm going to have it hanging down below my monitor.
I just take a screenshot and save it as my screensaver to remind me.
I think Josh just has them all memorized.
He's got a lot of them memorized. I do not. I feel like especially with the brush strokes, with VFlow brush strokes, I almost feel like the checkout person in the grocery store memorizing the produce numbers, I just need to start memorizing all of them and where they live and what their numbers are so that I can just go there really quickly.
So one tip that I've done, I've shared it before, but all of my favorite brush presets in there, I've gone in and I've duplicated that preset. You can like save it as a new preset, and then I'll rename it, and I'll start with the star, and I'll say star burn highlights, or star 1 burn highlights, star 2 details, and star 3 dodge or whatever, and rename them that way. So they're all my probably top 10 most used are right there at the top of the list.
I need to do that. No scrolling.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no scrolling. That's good. I need to spend some time kind of customizing and tweaking.
You're reading my mind. That was one of my notes that I was going, oh, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
But you just pointed that out. That's amazing.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long. You just, I think I set it up in like 2 minutes one day, just renaming them.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for sharing this. This was awesome. I definitely learned a few things that I did not know, and that the smart object thing. I've watched Lanny and Erica do their editing demonstrations and stuff before, and I'm just like, it's like almost overwhelming the possibilities that you can do and that you can think about doing with those smart objects, and going in and tweaking each individual little part of the image via a layer. But bringing in and being able to use the VFlow system with that is incredible. I love that you found that and figured that out. And I think one day we'll have to do like a quick video, maybe like a 10 to 15 minute long video showcasing that again, and doing it as like a recording for the group and for YouTube. I think would be awesome. To show more people, the power that you can do with not only the retouching toolkit, but also with those smart objects. So I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah.
Guys, we're finishing up here with the video. So if you have any questions for Josh and Tree, please drop them in the comments below so you can get those answered for you real quick. But thank you so much for tuning in and joining us today. We always love doing these lives and having you guys here and being a part of the community, participating in the weekly challenges and all that fun stuff. So we appreciate you. And be sure to drop your before and after edits, especially if you've learned something from this video. You want to go, try it in Lightroom right now, start tweaking and making your images pop. Share them in the group and tag me, Josh and Tree, and participate in those weekly challenges. This week is Portrait Week, so if you've got any awesome portraits that you want to try these out on, be sure to drop some before and afters. But yeah, thank you guys so much, Josh and Tree. Always a pleasure talking with you, and hopefully one day soon we'll get to see each other in person again. I hope.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's been what was that? February is when we saw each other last.
Yeah.
And it's always a pleasure.
Glad we had that.
So.
Oh, thank you so much, Chad.
Thank you so much, Chad.
To the whole Visual Flow team, SLR Lounge, and yeah, reach out to us if you have any questions or.
Yeah, we're happy to answer anything. Reach out to us.
Yep.
And we'll get our upcoming workshop too, so we'll look for that post and that announcement.
Yeah.
Perfect. Give them a follow. I always do that backwards. Give them a follow down there, Josh and Tree, and be sure to if you're not in this group now and you're watching from outside of this group, join the Visual Flow Preset Facebook group. Okay. We appreciate you guys, and stay safe and have a great rest of your evening. And Josh and Tree, thank you again.
Yeah.
Cheers.
We'll do it again sometime soon.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.